Okay, go ahead and call the meeting to order. We can go through roll call, please, Mary.
Jeff Scott.
Here.
Tim Scarberry.
Here.
Chet Schultz.
Here.
John Holden.
Here.
Rich Anderson.
Here. Okay, I'll move to approval of the minutes from the January 12th, 2026 meeting. Any corrections? I didn't find any. There's no corrections. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Support. I'll support it. Okay. Motion and support. All in favor, please say, Tim supported, yeah. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those are approved. Okay, we move to new business, appeal number 1. If we could read that, please, Mary.
Yes. Appeal number 1. The request by David and Kathleen Anderson for a yard location variance, a 7-foot side yard setback variance, and a 20-foot setback variance from the water's edge to build a storage shed at 10460 Bunyan Lake Road, Kenton, Michigan 48430. Parcel ID 4704092020003. The property is zoned LK1 Lakefront Residential. Reference Tyrone Township Ordinance Number 36, Section 2001, Schedule of Regulations, and Section 2102A2D, Accessory Dwellings and Structures.
Okay, thank you. And now, Mr. Anderson, are you here? If you could just give us a brief summary of the appeal. I know you were here previously and it was tabled, and then there's a few folks who are new.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was not tabled. Actually, we're referred to back from the court because of the violation of Open Meetings Act from the case that Judge Geddes, that I assume you guys have all been privy to and have a copy of.
Part of the packet, yeah.
Yeah, so that was, so you have that. So we've been asked to come back and get a chance to discuss our case, discuss what your concerns were and are, and request a variance accordingly to our last agreement, our last request, which was, as you see, there's an easement, if you go back up.
Okay.
So there's an 8-foot easement down there, right? And so what we've asked for is to be 6 feet off the easement, which would give us 14 feet from actually the other property line. So the easement can't be built on, can't be, no storage on it, so we're asking for it to be 6 feet from that. Coming back from the water, there's pictures in there that show that there are no sightline violations to the north or to the south. And so with 21 other structures, or 25 other structures on a lake right there, if you stop there on the left-hand side, that's, that stake is roughly, actually we're talking about a little farther back from that, but you'll see the house on the north side, actually 3 lots up on the north side. There's no sightline variations. All right. There's no issues with the sightlines there, with the picture on the left. So that's why we're asking for from having a 14-foot setback off the easement, 6 feet off the property line, which we think is reasonable. The reason we want to do that is due to the topographical issues. There's a flat, it's very flat there. If we move it farther to the west, we start getting into a grade, and it's a very steep hill grade, if you've seen with some of the other pictures. We start having issues with having to raise the shed up to make sure that it's flat. But then the other big thing is that what we want to do is we want to minimize the use of the easement. If we move it farther west, we're going to have to utilize the easement a lot more to get down to the water going around the shed versus if it's down towards the end of the easement, where we don't have to utilize the easement as much, and we want to minimize that. Our goal is to not use it as much as we can, right? But it is there. We want to kind of optimize it and use it for our benefit.
So your property line is the blue one. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Basically, the blue line, yes.
is your property line?
My property line.
So the easement's on the neighbor's property?
Yes.
Is that, okay, all right. Just to
Yes.
make sure I'm understanding what you do, okay, thank you.
And so, and what we're talking about in that picture too, you know, when you talk about from a height standpoint, the height of the shed is about 10 feet. That boat hoist right there is about 12 to 14 feet high. So we're less than that boat hoist, is what we're looking at when that's sitting on land. So we're shorter than that. And then, we can also look back as a precedence from, we're on lot 3. Oh, can you slide back up there, right there? Okay, excellent.
This here?
No, with Mr. Lander.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so, you know, Bob's a longtime resident, passed away a few years ago, but that is on lot 5, so that's 2 lots up. Lot 4 is where that brown shed is down by the water. What we're asking for is simply something roughly that size, all right, you see that right in the center? And that is our boat hoist in blue, all right? So there's really no obstruction.
Right here. Is
Yeah.
that
Yes,
the deck?
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
just For people's frame.
Right.
Yep, yep. So there's really no obstruction from a height standpoint because as defined in multiple times, the sightline is defined from first floor entrance level, right, which would be main living level, and a reasonable height of, say, even 5'5" off the deck. There's not any of the houses around there that would have, you know, they're roughly 25 feet off the water. So they're relatively high when they're talking about a 12-foot high shed at max. They're still 12 feet above first floor level, 12 feet above the, you know, not only us, but all our neighbors are more than 12 feet above the top of the roof of the shed. So I don't feel like there's really any sightline issues to be concerned with, and that has been the standard in that area, utilizing the first floor, and that actually came from McKenna several years ago in 2020.
So the reason for the request to build the shed or whatever you label it is, what was the reasoning to build it?
So build it there?
Yeah,
So
to build it in general.
To build it in general?
Yeah, yeah.
When you look at the proposal, it's really to optimize and cleaning, making sure the clean area is clean and organized, safety issues. We can read what was written. That's always best. So, as far as substantial justice is what you're looking for?
No, just a brief explanation of the reason why you're wanting to build it, right?
We've actually had things stolen at our house. We've had kayaks gone missing, and I've been there 58 years. This is my grandparents' property. We've had boat motors stolen, you know, from the water, on the water, right on the boat. You know, so we're hauling everything up and down and up and down, and with the potential, you know, don't want to leave anything out at night, especially nowadays, that things get stolen. About 2 years ago, we did have a kayak stolen, it's gone. Went around, talked to all the neighbors, went around the lake, couldn't find it. Talked to multiple people. Yeah, so it's handy, helpful, keeping the area clean. We're not leaving junk down there, you know, making it look messy. Put it all away, make it clean and organized, and a safety factor from keeping things locked up and not stolen.
Any other questions from the board?
I have a question real quick. So, all right, the easement, can you explain the purpose of the easement? Is it,
The preference?
no, the purpose, is it an easement with the,
Access.
for other property owners? It's-
For us. Yeah, it's an easement. Bentley's our neighbors here, right? So that went through Judge McGivney, which is listed up there in the center, right? He granted us an easement for access for vehicles or just moving things up and down.
So it's an easement you have on the neighboring property?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so to access the water?
Yes. So if we have an emergency down at the water, right, you want to get a vehicle down there? So that's why we made that. That easement had been in place for,
70 years?
yeah, 70+ years, 75 years. So really Judge McGivney just acknowledged that it had always been there as a prescriptive easement.
Okay,
We did originally, my grandparents did have a cottage down at the bottom of the hill, and it was a shared access with multiple people. With Judge McGivney, they went back to all the way people lived in, on Lot 4 back to the early 60s for that. And all stated it was a shared access.
so the variance from the property line,
6 feet is our last request.
6 feet.
7 foot. If you're 3 feet off, then the minimum requires 10 foot.
We've had multiple
From the water.
offers into the township through the last 2 years. We would greatly appreciate the 3 foot, which would give us 11 feet, which would meet the 10-foot requirement in our opinion. But we've also offered a couple times of 5 and 6 feet, giving up to 14 feet variance, which is more than sufficient off the easement, all right?
Right, no, I'm just trying to make clear that the request is off the property line, not off the.
Off the property line, yes,
Yeah, correct, Jeff.
correct. And we're just asking for we're asking for the easement to be a bonus for clearance.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board before we open up for public comment? Okay. I think that's good for now. We're going to open it up for oral
All right, great.
comments at the moment, and then we may have more questions for you after
Wonderful.
from the board. So appreciate it. Thank you. So I don't know if you want to
Yeah.
take a seat, then if there's
Okay.
public comments, then they come up. That way, speak in the microphone. So it's recorded. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we'll open up the hearing for oral. Did we receive written comments regarding this, Marion?
Yes,
I
you
believe-
have 2 in your,
Yeah. But is there any public comments regarding this appeal at this time? Go ahead, sir. Good.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about that easement.
Could you state your name for us?
Mark Bentley,
Okay, thank you.
I'm Lot 4, the new house,
Thank you.
that they showed an old shed back in 2019, which I personally think, the sheds at the lake are just tacky. So that one got ripped out. I mean, they look terrible. Now, as far as the easement, they took us to court because they built their house so close to their property line. The main issue was up where the houses meet together. That's where they had to get through, but the judge kind of kept it with the old survey and took it 20 feet from the water. They like to talk about it like an exclusive easement for them. That's our property. They just have access. The main reason is to get between our house and their house. So we kind of got stuck with it because of that. Now, it is absolutely in our sight line. That whole area, the lower area, is pretty much flat. They chose to put it right on the property line, pretty much right in front of our house. And our retaining wall for our lower walkout area is like 5 foot high. So we'll look directly at the shed or garage, which I'm not even so sure what they're proposing. I mean, right now it looks like a 20 foot by 12 foot. How high? I mean, what is the dimension of the height for it? Because the last meeting we came to 2 years ago, they weren't even sure how high it was gonna go. I mean, I'm still not even sure how far he wants to go from the property line. I thought this says 3 feet.
Yeah, that's the proposed,
Okay, because he was talking 6 feet,
Location.
it wasn't even, I wasn't even certain on,
that's in the packet, is 3 feet.
right, so what was he saying up here? He was talking like 6 feet.
Yeah, those were proposals that were made.
Oh, okay. Well,
But the application we have in front of us is the 3 feet.
I mean, my understanding based on what the sightline language is, he has absolutely violates the sightline. He violates the 50 feet from the water. He violates the 10 feet from the property line. Garages are not allowed to be built on the lakeside. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, I think that all these garages on the lakeside look terrible or sheds. So, now the easement that he's claiming is for him, that's our property. You know, and he really only needed the easement to get through between the two houses because of the way he built his home.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment? Go ahead.
I'm Molly Bentley. I also live on Lot 4. I have some points that I'd like to make about the application's request. Specifically to the fact that our ordinance in 0% support this structure being built at all. One of the other things is that as part of your role as the ZBA, it's your role to make sure we're not granting variances for reasons that are self-created. My neighbor self-created his predicament and her predicament as they sued their neighbor for this easement, and now they're trying to, they said minimize the use. I object to that. I think that they're trying to maximize, and in fact, he said this evening, optimize his use of the easement. All of these things, even the construction of his new home, were all self-created. He had the opportunity to file variances to build his home. Those were choices that they made when they constructed their home, making them self-created. Back in 2012, when they applied and met with the ZBA at the time, they had applied for a variance for a 3-car garage to be closer to the road. At that meeting, there was a ZBA member who had proposed the request of, well, would you prefer to keep the cottage at the water and have a 2-car garage, or would you prefer to have a 3-car garage and eliminate the cottage, which they had suggested could be used for storage. At that time, they requested they would prefer a 3-car garage, and you can see that in the ZBA meeting minutes from that application. So they've already been granted their additional storage by giving a variance for the 3-car garage. I'd like to point out that there's not been any changes in the ordinance since the last time this application has sat in front of this board. So I can't imagine why this board would think that it's appropriate to grant this variance request at this time. Furthermore, there was confusion this evening, and I think Rich clarified that the variance request is 7 feet that's being asked for, which does put that 3 foot off the property line. As my husband explained, the easement is our property. They have access to utilize it to access their front yard. And that did go through the court system, and they have the access to the front yard. So I would hope that they wouldn't want to change the use of that easement now that they want a structure in their front yard. In reference to the boat hoist, I'd like to point out that when we're talking about the boat hoist, the image we're referring to, the boat hoist is out of the water. There's no ordinance that says you can't have a boat hoist. Boat hoists are allowed, and they sit in the water, which is below the grade of the front yard, so less impactful on sightline in comparison to a 12-foot, 10-foot tall shed that might sit in someone's front yard. My understanding of sightline is that shed 100% violates sightline. If you draw the line from one structure to the next, it's completely in front of that sightline. The other thing with granting variances, it shouldn't create any impact negatively on neighboring properties. This shed negatively impacts the properties around it by obstructing views to the water, which is specified in our ordinance as well. And I'd also like to touch on property being stolen. We live on a lake, it's open body of water, things float away. We've seen entire pontoons float away, life jackets, skis, tubes, all these things. They float away, it happens on a lake. That's one of the challenges of living on a lake. Get a Sharpie, put your name and phone number on your stuff. When it blows away, people call you, tell you your boat washed up on their shore. So I just want to instill in you that we hope that you make the right decision tonight and take this request seriously and how it impacts other properties. If you could scroll to the picture with Mr. Landers. Because I know that that picture is important to the applicant. Thank you. So the shed that they're referring to is the beige shed that's about a thumbnail size. That shed barely fit a John Deere tractor. The shed that they're requesting to build tonight would probably fit 2 John Deere tractors. So significantly larger. That shed was, you could pull the tractor in, but you had to crunch down. And that shed was later torn down because it did obstruct views to the water, and just was undesirable down by the water. I think that we're gonna be setting a big precedence if we grant this shed this evening, because we're gonna have them pop up everywhere. And I think that that's not what this township wants. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comments regarding this appeal?
Yeah, I just have a
Yes.
couple things.
All right.
Hi, I'm Lisa Walker. I think Molly and Mark Bentley covered most of the points. There just were some comments made, a lot of comments made about sight lines. So I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if that's necessarily the applicant's role to make that sightline determination, or if that comes from you guys or the planning commission.
The planning commission.
Okay, so just bringing up the fact that there's no sightline, I'm not sure if that's something that the applicant's allowed to do. And then just kind of coming back to, there was a lot of talk about variance to property line, variance to the easement line. Is the variance to the property line or to an easement line?
The property line.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that that's clear, and that there also would be a variance that seems to be in the applicant's request to the ordinance itself that states no accessory structures on the lakeside. So we focus a lot about, is it 3 feet, is it 6 feet, is it 5 feet? But we can't forget about the fact that we're also asking to build a structure where the ordinance is pretty black and white, in my opinion, that says you can't even have a structure on that side of the front yard. And then also, Molly touched on it a little bit with the application from these same applicants back in 2012 when they built their house, where there was a existing cottage on the front yard side, and a ZBA member did offer that option of, do you want to keep the cottage or do you want the 3-car garage for extra storage? And at that time, they did choose the 3rd-car garage for storage, and now 12 years later, they're being asked to put that storage back on that side. So I don't think that should be lost, that something was given up at that time for a different variance, and now we're asking for what we gave back up for that variance as well. So those are just some things that I wanted to bring up, as well as I'm not aware of any changes in the ordinance since this was last denied 2 years ago. So I hope that that is still the case this time around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment regarding this appeal? Okay. Close public comments and we'll bring it back to the board for consideration of action, or if there's other questions, feel free, now's the time.
I have a question. So, Yeah, why, so why can't the shed be moved back another 20 feet and over another 7
Right there, so
feet?
you start seeing the topographical right there. So you see how lines start getting closer together, closer and closer? Right? Each of the dotted lines. So that's a significant grade drop. The closer the lines are together, right, that's the more steeper grade.
Jeff, what is your question? Why it can't be moved?
Why can't it be moved 50 back
So
from the
then
high
we-
water mark?
From
Then
the
we,
water.
yeah,
So
then we
up
run
here.
into water runoff down the hill issues.
Because am I correct, it would be in compliance if it was 50 feet off the water and 10 feet off the property line?
No, they're asking for the variance off the property line and the water and the yard location.
There's two
Also-
things.
So
yeah.
there's three variances, the location and then the setbacks off the side of the water. So, yeah.
So there would be significant runoff issues moving it back. And like I said, that is the flattest area, as multiple people have mentioned today, right? It's a very flat area. We move it back, we've got to raise the shed higher with the foundation, flatten that out, then we've got water management issues coming down the hill, and there's significant water management issues coming down the hill with runoff into the lake. There's been a lot of dirt issues going in the lake and that type of stuff over the last few years. So that's why we want to put it on the flattest area that we can, makes sense, the lowest area that we can, so it minimizes the height of the shed. And, there's been a lot going on in that area, but we want to focus on the setback off our property line. The easement is there, right? Don't want to use it, I don't want to use it as much as I can. If I do move it 20 feet back, okay, when I use that property, instead of coming down the hill and turning quickly onto my property, if I move it 20 feet back, I'm gonna have to drive around on the easement, which I don't wanna do, around the shed, around any of the property, and utilize the easement that I don't want to do, right? So if I move it closer to the water where I'm asking for it, then I can come down the hill, very quickly turn onto my property and only use my property. That is my ultimate goal.
I just had any further follow-up questions to that, Jeff?
So if it was, so it could be put 50 foot back and 10 feet from the property line.
With significant other issues. Runoff, height, and runoff is really the bigger issue. Because there's a lot of water comes down that hill.
On this drawing here, it shows, okay, it went up 10 to 12 feet. Can you
Right.
clarify the height of the peak? Just for, is it 12 feet at the?
It's just a rough estimate at the
Rough,
time.
okay.
If that's what it's not final design, right? I still gotta find, so that's why I put a range in there.
Okay.
If we want to talk about a specific height, I'm happy to do so.
No, I just to clarify, that's your
Yeah.
range, okay.
Yeah, I got a range in there just because it's not final design and so ultimately it's gonna look similar to the garage if you scroll down. Right, those are just rough estimates, but that's kind of what we would make it look like. We'd put a gable on there and make it very, very reasonable. And I think, people do appreciate the design of our house. And in the end, when you talked about the old cottage, the foundation was shot. It was not salvageable.
Where was that located?
In front of that blue line, well, you see where the grinder
Oh,
pump
right.
is? Yeah, it was in that area.
Oh. Any other questions? there's no further questions, I'll bring it back to the board for consideration of action. Make a motion?
Might I add, there's 25 other structures lakeside around the lake. We're the first ones to actually ask for a permit. So I think, Rick, you've been around for a while. But, Dean Hess also built a very large shed barn within 25 feet of the water. So we feel it is somewhat reasonable.
You're saying there's 25 other structures like you're asking for
Yeah.
that nobody requested variances for? And
No,
they're
no.
just,
You want to list? Listed a
well,
couple.
because that's honestly my concern is the precedent this is gonna set.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no, here's a picture of every single one of them around the lake with the address. It's been provided to the township more than once, but if you'd like, I'll give you a copy and you can review it. And you can even see them there. You can see them in that picture. They're coming to the left. So, but I've got a copy of all the graphics of all the lots. Joel Troman, which you guys know, actually has 2 on his property. Yeah, there's a couple. So it is common. And actually, on lot 3, so where the garage is, last year they put a new shed within 10 feet of the property line. They built it as there.
It's not a shed, it's a gazebo.
No, that's an old picture, but they built a new one since that picture,
Where?
next to the garage,
Oh, hold on.
on the north side of the garage.
Hold on. Oh, which address?
Yeah, that one right there. Yeah.
Right here? Okay.
Yeah, so if you go up to the garage in the middle of the yard, yeah, they've added, it's not in my pictures, but they've added a shed there.
There historically was a shed there.
Okay, yeah,
So-
and I appreciate the
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
and what we're charged with as ZBA is to use the criteria we know and that we have to make a determination on this application. But
Yeah,
I
yeah. So
understand.
anyways, so I do have documentation, and you can Google that. There are 25 other structures lakeside, around the lake that are there, and so what we're asking for is not unheard of. We're not the first ones, and that, we just want to be able to have what our other neighbors have.
I have some comment. So a lot of these structures he talks about are pre-ordinance. They're old structures, they're old sheds that get thrown up. I mean, I had a neighbor, I used to live on the other side of the lake. They had an old shed that they threw to the neighbor to the left, and they didn't want it anymore, and they were fine with them throwing an old shed, down there. I think it looked horrible.
Sorry, but I got other instances of pictures of sheds that have gone up in the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I appreciate the comments, and we understand that maybe this happened, but we have to take the application we have and make a determination as CBA. Thank you. Is there further questions?
I was on the board when you did make the request for the original building, and I do remember you specifically saying that you wanted to have the garages at the top of the hill for storage. You did at that time say that you were satisfied with the solution that we gave you at the time. And obviously, things have changed a little bit. I'm not quite sure how building a shed and then saying that everybody else's grandfather's shed is precedence for this. I'm a little confused about all that.
Well, there's several properties that have sheds and have 3-car garages. The deviation that we asked for was to the road, and irrelevant to the cottage with the foundation that was shot, right? It was no good, it was cracked, it was all cracked through the center, the roof's leaked, right? That was not a sellable building. It was completely not salvageable, right? And so The three-car garage that wasn't necessarily just for storage, right? Because everybody's got an extra car, right? I mean, who doesn't like cars? And so, yeah, that was to the road, right? But the precedent still is, we can find multiple houses around the lake that have three-car garages and lots and sheds down in the water. That is real. And there's multiple houses, and one directly across from us, across the lake, that has a three-car garage. And 2 years ago, they just built a new shed right next to the water within 10 feet. I can show you a picture right now if you want. Nobody's pulled a permit. I'm the first one to actually do it right. All right? So I can show you that picture right here. Kenny's directly across from us. He built a shed. He's got a three-car garage. It's not unheard of.
Any other questions?
No.
No. Entertain a motion, one way or the other.
I move that we deny this application.
Okay, there's a motion to deny the application, and you want to provide some clarification, Don?
We originally, when the property was originally done, we knew that the building was going to be removed in the front yard. The extra garage for extra storage space,
That is not true.
Oh, hold on. He's making his motion at this time. Go ahead, Don.
I have nothing else to say other than I move that we reject this motion.
Okay. Thanks. Is there a support?
I'll support that.
Okay, there's a motion and a support.
Is that your chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Supported to deny the request. Any discussion? Guys, okay. We could have roll call vote. Marion, please.
Jeff Scott.
Yes.
Tim Scarberry.
Yes.
Jeff Schultz.
Yes.
Don Longo.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes. Okay, the motion approved, the request is denied. We can move to appeal number 2, please. Marion, to read that.
Yes. Appeal number 2. A request by Scott and Cindy Presnell for a 15-foot side yard setback variance to build a detached accessory structure located at 12163 McIntosh Drive, Benton, Michigan, 48430. Parcel ID 4704-02102016. The property is zoned RE Road Estate, reference Tyrone Township ordinance number 36, section 101, schedule of regulations.
Okay, thank you. The applicants here?
Yes.
Come forward, give a brief summary.
Good evening. I'm Chris Weir, we're a building company representing Scott and Cindy Frizo.
Okay, thank you.
We're at 12163 McIntosh Lane, and they also are the owners of the vacant parcel directly to the east of their residence, right there.
Is this okay?
And normally, I don't feel like we would need to be here requesting a variance for this type of project, but Applewood Estates has a unique set of bylaws that have created unintended consequences relative to the township setbacks as well. And what I mean by that is the limited common elements that are part of that neighborhood. And so, for example, on these lots, there's a side yard setbacks, 15 feet, that they refer to as the limited common element. So if the parcel is 250 feet wide, there are 15-foot limited common element setbacks on each side. And that is to basically create a buffer zone between your structures and your neighbor's structures. So you're guaranteed a 30-foot buffer between you and your neighbor. Now, this is an association, and for reasons that are above my level of comprehension, the township's setback requirements starts at that limited common element. So you've got your 15 feet, and then you have the township's 20 feet of setback requirement. So now we're dealing with 35 feet on either side, or 70 feet total between any structure of yours and your neighbors. That is the unintended consequence based on our discussions with the current board of directors of the HOA and what we've seen from prior boards of directors of this HOA. For you who have been on the board for a few years, you've probably seen this exact same request come through. The neighbor across the street requested the same setback. What we're asking for is 5 feet, or I'm sorry, a 15-foot setback from the township's 20-foot, which will then, at the shortest distance from the lot line, give us that 20 feet, meeting the zoning requirements of the township, and also keeping that 15-foot buffer for the neighborhood. And I think that's it, unless you have any questions.
No, I think my only question is, I guess either way you'd have to have a variance, but I know the front yard has water. Does it have any other utilities, like this location here in front of the home? The well is on the drawing.
The well is located on the southwest side of the property, yeah, right about where your cursor is. Septic field's in the back. Gas and electric run along the east side of the property and come in, which would come into the east side of the home, which we would be clear of as well.
Any other questions?
Did I hear you correctly that the property to the east is owned by the same?
It is, yes.
All right. Has there been any move to take those two properties and put them together and take this issue away?
Fantastic question. We did explore that, and both the board was resistant, and the attorney, George Reisig, who drafted those documents 20-some years ago, we had a conversation with him, and being that it is a site condo with the bylaws, he said it is an extensive process. He advised us not to go that route. It would require, again, this is above my pay grade as well, but a complete new set of survey documents for every unit in the neighborhood, a vote to every unit owner in the neighborhood. It's just very, very extensive. And we, seeing that this request has gone successfully through the board already, at least once in the last couple of years, and possibly other times in the past, because there are other structures in the neighborhood that are within the 35 total feet, net feet, to the lot line as well, but I didn't really look past 2022.
Question, Don? Any other questions?
I got a question. So what you're saying is the HOA has a 15-foot setback from the property line,
The bylaws, yes.
which makes perfect sense for fire, keeping structures separated. I would have to look in our ordinance manual, but you're saying our ordinance is 20 feet from the setback, not from the property line?
20 feet from the property line, but the way I understand it is that the property line, or the 20-foot setback is, starts from the edge of that limited common element line, not the actual parcel line. So it starts from that 15-foot in.
I would have to.
Yeah, and a lot of, like, in a site condo, I don't know what exactly this was planned and developed under, but that's considered open space, so you can't build on it.
No,
so
I
then
got
your
you.
setbacks are off the edge of it, which they're, in this one, they call it a limited common element.
Okay,
So that's why their variance request is 15 feet, because they're 5 feet off of that. But like they're saying, then they're 20 feet off their property line still, which is what the ordinance says. Yeah.
Right, it would still be 20 feet. Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's the only question I got.
There was one written comment in support.
There was two.
Is it two? Okay, two written comments, okay. Yeah, thanks,
They're in
Terry.
the packet.
Yeah. Is there any public comment at this time? Anyone?
Just that there are two other outbuildings that have been built. There's one across the road from us, one that used to work for the township, and then down the road on the same side, they're just finishing their project up. They got the variance accepted as well.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Bring it back to the board for consideration of action then. Or other questions, if there's further questions.
If there's no other questions, I'll move to approve appeal number 2 as presented.
I'll support it.
That's Tim.
Okay, there's a motion and support to approve appeal number 2 as requested. Any discussion? Okay, if we could have roll call, please.
Jeff Scott?
Yes?
Tim Scarberry?
Yes.
Chuck Schultz?
Absolutely.
Don Bunya?
Yes.
Rich Harrison?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Miscellaneous business, I know, Marion, you mentioned there is appeal already for March?
One.
At least one, okay, so we'll have a meeting in March, and then, I believe at the, I forget the dates, but there was, Don mentioned the training that, I think
That's
at
next
the
month.
end of March.
Yeah, next
And,
month.
we had discussed it a little bit, but Don's thought was that, hey, maybe one or two go and then take notes and report back to us. And I think I'm in favor of that. I don't know how the board feels about that, but I know Don has expressed that he would like to go. I know it would be really tough for me to go,
Yeah.
but
Oh,
if, I know Greg gave us a nod of support to make sure we attend if we can, so.
yeah.
Thanks for coming, Greg. So, good to see you. So I think we would move forward with that. If somebody else wants to go also, I know Don said he wants to go, but please let us know. You don't have to let us know here in the meeting tonight, but just
Yeah.
want to make sure to talk about it here.
What time would that be at?
There are actually a couple, 2 or 3 different dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two, I know there's at least two specific
Yes.
for ZBA, and they're in the late afternoon, evening, for the exact times, but.
I think you have it in your email.
Yeah, I did get it. Couldn't remember offhand.
Would you like to end the meeting so that we can discuss this? Or do you want to make this public?
We can, I just wanted to bring it up since it's we have support from the township board, right, and supervisor, and I think it's appropriate to bring up the meeting that we're gonna probably have somebody there in attendance, but that was it, not to discuss and make arrangements. We can do that with the administration for the township, after, but I think we can adjourn if there's no other comments, unless. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.